a candidate you hear very little about. He's got big plans, though, if he occupies the White House. A consumption tax instead of an income tax, an audit of the Federal Reserve, legalizing pot, just to name a few. Gary Johnson was a two-term governor of New Mexico. Now he's running for president on the Libertarian ticket. What would the U.S. economy look like if he were in charge?
Joining us from Tampa is former Governor Gary Johnson. Governor, good to see you. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Bill, Michelle, thank you for having me on. I watch CNBC all the time, so wow, I get to be on Closing Bell.
Well, we appreciate that. Thanks for joining us today.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
I know you and Michelle think a lot alike on a lot of these issues. First of all, let me just ask you, what are you doing in Tampa right now?
I got invited here to address Paul Fest, so I took advantage of that invitation. I spoke to them a couple of days ago and thought I would hang around maybe to get an opportunity like this. So thank you for this opportunity.
You bet. Do you think you will have Ron Paul's backing? He's been very tepid. He can't bring himself to endorse Mitt Romney. What do you think? Will you get his backing?
Well, I'll just say that he asked me for my endorsement in 2008. I readily gave that endorsement. Really, I think I've been saying the same things as Ron Paul. So when it comes to Ron Paul supporters, are they going to vote for Romney or Obama or me? And I want to point out that of all the third-party candidates, only one third-party candidate is going to be on the ballot in all 50 states, and that's going to be me. So I think that's also very significant in this equation.
Here's the greatest softball I have ever thrown. You have 1% of right now in the polling, so almost nothing. I don't understand why there aren't more libertarians in America. I think the average American is basically a libertarian. They're fiscally conservative, socially liberal. Stay out of my pocketbook and out of my private life. I wrote a whole book about it. You can feel free to buy it. Why do you think that this message isn't more pervasive across either of the parties?
I think it is. I think my voice is representative of the fastest growing segment of American politics today, and that's just that. The notion of being fiscally responsible, socially accepting, that's speaking with a broad brushstroke. So I'm the only candidate that doesn't want to bomb Iran. Let's get out of Afghanistan tomorrow.
But you only have 1%. But you only have 1%. I mean, you could be the fastest growing because you're working off a very small base.
Well, that might be the case, but I'm doing what I can do, and I think that that's very important in this equation, and I'm willing to bet that that there will be momentum on election day. Look, let's reform our tax system. Let's abolish the IRS. Let's abolish income tax, corporate tax. Let's balance the federal budget tomorrow. End the wars, stop the spending. Where is this being represented by either of the two old parties?
At this point, what's expected to be a tight race, Governor, do you worry at all that you will steal some votes away from Mitt Romney that would otherwise go his way?
No, I think, Bill, it's been put to the test in 4 different states. And by the way, those 4 states, the polling was somewhere north of 5 and 6%. But in the 4 states where it was put to the test, in 2 states I take more votes away from Obama. In 2 states I take more votes away from Romney. People really do care about civil liberties. I think people really recognize that we are on a course of fiscal disaster unless something gets done. And I am proposing to balance the federal budget in the year 2013, which would be a 43% reduction in federal spending that if we don't do, you know, you all talk about it all the time. I'm in the camp that believes we're going to suffer a monetary collapse if we don't get this under control, and nobody's talking about control. Republicans are going to balance the budget in 28 years, and that's contingent upon growth occurring also. I don't know. I don't think it addresses the problems.
I love your focus on the fiscal issues, but when I'm sitting around with libertarian friends, and I do have them, we do a game. How libertarian are you? Tell me, if you were judging Lance Armstrong today, would you have punished him for what he did or didn't do?
Well, yes. You know, there are rules, and of course, Lance has never admitted guilt. He hasn't been proven to be guilty in all the drug tests. You know the spirit of the question. All these things about athletes taking performance-enhancing drugs. Should they be allowed to? No, because it's part of the rules, and there are. Michelle, cycling happens to be one of my passions. There are all sorts of participants in the Tour de France that don't take drugs. One of the real issues right now is who does the Tour de France title get given to. And, they're talking about dropping down to 15th place. In the year 2010, 19 of the top 20 cyclists in the Tour de France have been disqualified because of illegal drug use. So it's the rules, and everybody needs to conform with those rules. And taking these performance-enhancing drugs,
you have just made Bill Griffin's day. He is so happy.
Governor, I made that very argument to her earlier, but I'm glad you came on my side on that one. Thank you for joining us. It was a real pleasure having you with us today, sir.
Great being a thrill for me. Thank you.
You bet. Gary Johnson, who's the Libertarian candidate for president this season.